The SOWLE GOAL.
This week's segment of the SOWLE GOAL is about a broken sewer valve on a travel trailer and how I changed it in the campsite.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had one of those days that just turns to crap? Yeah, kind of like this day went for me. We're actually camping at Hillsdale Lake and noticed a smell in the campsite one evening. At first, I honestly thought that someone next to us had dumped their black water, something along those lines, because it was just horrible. After it not going away for a while, we did a little searching around in our campsite. I saw that the drip was actually coming from the cap that covers the gray and black water drain valve. This had never happened before, so I figured the valve just wasn't seated all the way. My fault, didn't double check it.
What do you mean seated?
The valve itself can open and close, and I figured I had it open at one time and didn't get it all the way closed, so that blade valve sealed it off. So I went over and attempted to push it in. To my disappointment, it was already all the way in. Thankfully, we always carry our tote with us because the sites that we were staying at did not have sewer hookups.
Right.
So I went ahead and got the sewer hose and tote ready to dump the camper. I started to take the sewer cap off. That's when I realized that the whole freaking pipe from valve to cap was full of urine. Just let me ask, have you ever tried to get a cap back on something that had pressure behind it? Needless to say, I wasn't too happy getting urinated on, basically. After that happened, I went ahead and flushed the black tank to see if we could get the valve to seal. Unfortunately, it did not. This meant that I had to go to town the following day to get a new valve. The next day I went to Casey Home Trailer, which is a nearby camping RV supply store, got the valve, went back to the campsite thinking I would just change it out real quick, no big deal.
Real quick.
Yep, my real quick turned into a 3-hour-long project because the valve was in the middle of the camper and I had to remove the underbelly shield to get access to the valve that was attached to a cable that ran 6 feet over to the side of the camper.
Right.
To top it off, the valve was located near a cross brace that almost blocked access to the 4 screws that held the blade valve in place. There I was, lying on the ground, reaching around the bracing, trying not to destroy the thick, heavy belly shield that was drooping down because it was still being held up by a gas line that prevented me from taking it all the way out of the way.
Oh, wow.
I was fumbling to find the nuts and bolts that were just hard to reach. That was when it happened. I was able to get to the last bolt, got it broke loose. I had this exhilaration feeling of just a profound manliness that I was going to get this fixed without needing to take it to a shop,
After 3
get anything
hours?
done. Then that feeling went away really quickly when I had the feeling of liquid running down my arm a second time in this 2 days.
Wow.
You remember how I said earlier you'd be disgusted by what's left over in a tank even after it's been flushed? I thank God that he gave me the patience and persistence that day because I was able to get the old valve out and the new one in. Yes, it fixed the issue. As for me, on the other hand, I still start to gag a little bit when I think about that smell. With that, it is going to bring us a close to today's episode of the SOWLE RV podcast.
Thanks so much for joining us today. As always, SOWLE RV encourages you to safely get out and live and explore the world around you. If you'd like to check out our show notes from today's episode, just go over to SOWLERV.com, click underneath podcast, and make sure you follow us on social media and be sure to hit that subscribe button below.